Time to get into it. Look at that for a starter. So, hardback book, as you can see, and this is the version I really like. I have to say, I love hardback books personally. So, as soon as you open it up, you've got all these amazing logo graphics, and these are all from different games as well. I don't know if you can guess them. Have a little guess in the comments maybe for a bit of fun, but some of them you'll recognize immediately, and some might be a little bit more tricky to find. But that's a really nice touch, I think, especially if you're a fan of these games. You're going to immediately get into this and see, obviously, the Go, which is a big part of beat 'em ups because it's a side scroller, of course, and that's what this book is about. So you've got a really cool content spreads there, and it's basically an A to Z of all the games. It's the games encyclopedia. And then you've got also Key with the platform side of it. I think it's really nice for books. If you just want to get into a few sections, you don't have to read it from back to front to be able to, get into the whole sort of side of it. So obviously I'm seeing this for the first time. So there's going to be things that probably on social media, if you follow us, I'll get into and bring out a little bit more. So I don't want to go through every single page because there's 400 pages here. So you've got an intro, there's obviously forward, what's a side scrolling beat 'em up, which goes into the detail, and then the various years, and then credits. So intro here, really cool spread. Obviously, you know where that's from. It's Streets of Rage, which is the city scene, amazing scene, very iconic. I'm not going to read out the forwards and the intros, but this one talks about Double Dragon and Renegade, I guess, and it talks about the founder of all of the grandfather of scrolling beat 'em ups, Double Dragon, and there he is. Amazing. Pretty impressive to have that in there. So I think it's the thing about Bitmap Books, they have some really good guest appearances of writers and very much come from the games industry. Here's the preface. The graphics here are amazing. I don't think you can see, I'm just bringing the camera up. It really is bright and colourful. Reproduction is amazing. This is quite cool, if you're just coming into the genre, or just a bit of background. What is a side-scrolling beat 'em up? Just goes into the whole sort of occasion of it all, what makes it up, explains about the weapons, explains about kind of end of scenes. So that's quite interesting, and I think we've got a nice double-page spread. Wow, it's come out. So I've got the camera on a nice little pole here, so we can come right up. You can see that. There you go. Classic scene in Streets of Rage. And what you've got here is, I've never seen this done before. So you've got the numbers and the explanations of the ingredients of what goes into the genre, and using obviously this scene from Streets of Rage 2, I think, if I'm right, could be. Yeah, wow. And then we've got decades. I personally love chronological books, and also this one split it up into decades. So again, just doesn't mess with my OCD and keeps it really clean. I mean, there really is so many pages here. I'm not going to go through the whole book because this could go on for like an hour. Some people, do that, and that's cool. But I'm going to try and give you an overview, just give you a taste of the book. Give you an idea of the quality. Say the imagery is really popping, colours are amazing. It's got that new print smell about it as well. So just picking up on some of again, these double page spreads, absolutely love them. So just going to rock this one out. Wow. This is what I like. I'm getting a sort of product and seeing it for the first time, because I'm almost experiencing it like you guys. I haven't at all read this. You've seen earlier, yes, it was a quick edit, but honestly, this is the first time I'm seeing this. And as somebody who grew up with this in the arcade, Kung Fu Master, it's such a nice nod and kind of respectful sort of idea of the game, because this again is just so iconic, explaining the intro to the game. I might pick up on some of these tips because it is so tough. I haven't completed it. And then not only the arcade, because obviously it was released in 1984, talking about the ports. It just feels like you're playing the game, actually, just to have that spread. It's such a clever idea. I'm not going to go through every game. I'm probably going to just talk about ones that I just personally know a little bit more about. Renegade. This was a game that I most honestly played it on platform formats such as really the computer side of things. So I played it on the ST. I think definitely played it on the ZX Spectrum. It was a bit of a version, not quite maybe the some of the sort of better consoles, but it was it was what it was, and I like the character design of that. Double Dragon. I mean, I have to talk about this game because it is probably, if you thought about a side-scrolling beat 'em up, it's got to be in the top 3, not even top 10, because maybe it's not the best game ever. It's not the quickest game. We all know that. Certainly on certain formats, maybe not so much the arcade, but yeah, it does. You do get a bit of slowness, but it was just like, it's a historical game that really sort of set the scene for a lot of these side-scrolling beat-em-ups. It was out in 1987. It was obviously predates things like Streets of Rage, which came a bit later, and Final Fight. It's so iconic, and really, I think it says it here, it's hard to imagine what the gaming landscape would be like today if it wasn't for Double Dragon. I have to agree with that. It really does have its place in history. So the fact that they've done more than one spread is really nice, and the ports are really cool to see them all alongside each other. The differences between each one, colorways and graphics. There's the Spectrum version. Love it or hate it, that was part of my history. I did have a Spectrum just about that time. I did have another computer. I was getting to that point where I was keeping my computers occasionally, not all of them, where you trade out, but do remember seeing that. Link's versions looks amazing actually, so there's a little touch on that. Obviously the Mega Drive, which came a bit later, that is going to be better, partially because just it came later and everything else. This is nice. Again, we're continuing. This is not going to be a Double Dragon book only, but you can't just skip side-scrolling beat-em-ups without talking about this. And then Ninja Warriors, again, great arcade game. Played this recently, played it at Arcade Club. They've got the full cabinet, which is unreal, and I definitely have played this on other formats as well. I think I played it on the ST when I think about it. I'm not sure I played it on the Amiga, if it even had an Amiga version that I can see there. Altered Beast. Now, it's interesting. People might not think of this as a side-scrolling beat-em-up, but it's side-scrolling. You beat people up, and yeah, it doesn't spring to mind immediately, but I like that. It's opened up, a little conversation in my mind, and look at that for a double-page spread. That is epic. That is epic. I mean, video games really has some amazing art, and this does especially. Look at that. That is superb. I'm almost sort of taken aback, because this is taking me back to an era which, I grew up with the arcade. I grew up in the in the 70s and the 80s, but this game, some people just really don't like it, but it had so many memories. I did play it, mainly on the Mega Drive. So yeah, Mega Drive I love the snares, I love the Atari, but that game means a lot to me. It's going to flip through. I mean, Splatterhouse is an amazing game. I'm going to flick through because there's so much in here. I don't want to spend hours going through it all. This was a game I absolutely adored. I played this in the arcade. It was at my local ice rink. I definitely played video games more than I did ice skating because of this game, and it was a 2-player. It was just me and my mate bashing away. And then it came out on the various versions. It didn't, in the early sort of days, the Commodore 64 version was okay, but then it started to get better. But the arcade, you never beat it, and all the kind of sayings in it, I'm bad, and the characters are just superb, the bad dudes themselves. So Data East Classic, that was out in 88. And this is obviously one of the scenes within the intro of the game. In fact, sorry, it's the end of the game, rather. There's an intro at the beginning, but it's the when President Ronnie invites the bad dudes to the White House and thanks you. So what else have we got here? Let's go through. I might just skip a whole bit, because otherwise we could be here, but I'm not going to skip this. I was just waiting to get here, actually. Final Fight. Classic map scene. Look at that now. You've got slum, industrial area, Bay Area, the West Side. This is Metro City, if you haven't figured it out. talks you through the various stages. Now, not everybody's completed this game, so maybe I won't show you stage 5 and 6 particularly, but you've probably got to stage 3 at least. Takes you through all those, explains them. What an absolute classic game this is. That's a brilliant scene as well with the barrels. Look at that, just standing off against the bad guys. I've got so much love for this game. I don't really have a favourite character. If I probably had to choose, it'd be Hager. But Cody and Guy, pretty cool as well. So, you know, they're ones I choose, but probably go with Hager most of the time personally. And yeah, you've just got to get the art out here. It just, you know, stuff like this, on a book like this is where you're seeing the real quality. Again, it just takes you back to, this is the downfall of Belgium, and you couldn't not capture that. Some games that I don't know about, Skull and Crossbones, haven't really had much experience of that, but this is the point of these books, you know, you go and check them out. Obviously not like this. I know this game through and through. It's an absolute classic. Played it recently at an event all the way through with some of my buddies, and the Simpsons, which I'm sure we'll get into as well. So yeah, what can you say about this game? It's an absolute stormer. It's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, released in 1989. Obviously there's 2 games, which I expect we'll see the other in a minute. And yeah, what can I say? I mean, these are, when you think about now, we've just started the book, and I guess we're just over 10 minutes in, but I need to do like several videos for this book, because we've got to not even got to 100 pages, and we're at Golden Axe, and we've seen so many brilliant games. So I wonder whether I might just split this into a couple of sections, because there's so much to see. But I think what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to do that, because you're going to see the whole book, but I'm just going to get to a point, probably the 80s, finish those, and then just skip into some sections, because there's just so much to see. I'm not going to show you every page, but I knew in my mind there was going to be some absolute stormers of games, and it was going to be in the 80s for me personally. But I know when we get into the 90s, there's some brilliant games as well. So I'm just going to keep flicking through. I'm going to start to kind of jump slightly as well, and maybe sort of land on some areas. Alien Storm, absolutely love the Mega Drive version of that. And again, look at that. It's a brilliant scene. You with your blaster just taking out the enemy, and various characters. Lots of cool characters and artwork here. Look at that. I love it with this book where, you know, on particular games, it goes into massive detail, just delves a bit further than you might get before. The writing is really good. It's quite succinct, and it's nice to, you know, get a bit of explanation on some of these pure graphical areas as well. Talks here that Sega flipped the side-scrolling format on its head with Alien Storm's first-person shooter stages. Yeah, absolutely. It really did. Ninja Clowns, don't know that. Okay, this is the other one I needed to really kind of land on. Streets of Rage. You know, it's one that's talked about. Yes, it's talked about a lot, but it's talked about a lot for a reason. And it really had an impact, obviously, out on the Master System and the Mega Drive. So, yeah, it's a brilliant game. And, you know, you can't beat it, really. I think there's not many games around this time that did such a good on console as this game. And obviously there's no arcade version. It was purely for console, and it was a turning point for me in terms of gaming, and also this genre as well. So let's have a look at that. Sorry, the camera had to move there because my cat was going to make an appearance, actually probably standing on the book. Yeah, he's just made a little noise there, haven't you? So just to the side of me, but he's gone round me now, so. And he's been outside, so he might have had some muddy paws there, but luckily he's decided to just go on the chair behind me. We'll carry on. Battletoads, another brilliant game, just to mention there. It goes into quite a lot of detail on this. It's obviously from Rare, classic title. I know some of the guys who worked on this game as well, so a bit of a mention there. What else have we got? So, yeah, I'm just going to flick through it again. You know, maybe just sticking with some of the popular stuff, but still, these are games that had a personal impact on me at the time. So I was a little bit older at this point, but Simpsons came out in 91, and I was creeping towards 18, but loved the Simpsons. Used to watch it religiously on a Sunday, and this game came out, and there you go. It just blew us away. Absolutely brilliant party game to play with mates. Some great artwork there. What else? I mean, I'm skipping stuff that is amazing here. The Turtles, Turtles in Time, is the whole. I'm not going to go into that because I don't want to spoil every single spread for you guys. We're just going to flick into, again, there's these little cut areas where, talking about Golden Axe 2, the author explains some of the real detail behind the characters and some of the scenes. Absolutely amazing. Games that I might not have heard of, I'm going to be checking out. So I'm going to skip a little bit now because I don't want to spoil every section, and we're just going to land randomly in areas. Hyperstone Heist, picking up the Turtles theme. So we're getting into the 90s, the deep 90s now. The 90s were really big for beat-em-ups. If you think about things like The Punisher, not many people maybe have played this game. It's an arcade game, and it was only out on the Genesis and Mega Drive. There's no Super Nintendo version. Pretty expensive to pick up now, I have to say, and very rare to find in the arcade or an arcade, but well worth a game. Now, my cat's going to make an appearance. There he is. You can see his feet. We'll leave him in. Do you see that? He's so respectful over the book. Well done. Yeah, well done. You didn't step all over it. So he does listen occasionally. What else? Let's skip through. Alien vs Predator. Wow, what a game. Amazing game. Great on the Jaguar, I have to say. Just mention that now. And just mention that there. So that's interesting. That's arcade. So yeah. A slightly different version. That's probably maybe why. Classic moment, obviously, Alien vs Predator. And let's go into the next bit. This very expensive game, as you probably might be aware, on the Mega Drive. Death and Return of Superman. Wow. It's popping imagery-wise. Ninja Warriors. I mean, you could just keep going with this. Batman Forever in the arcade. I'm not going to do every spread. I'm going to flick a little bit more forward, guys, because there's some games in here as you get into the kind of later years that are well worth looking up. And it's, I don't want to spoil the back end because these are games that you'd think side-scrolling beat-em-ups have kind of stopped, but they just haven't. Double Dragon Neon, for example, 2012. You've got Dragon's Crown, 2013. You've got Double Dragon 4, yep, and that's even on PS4. Coffee Crisis, you may have remember that's from Mega Cat. And I could go on. I'm not going to do the end page because that's just going to spoil it. So I'm going to get to here. And just to say, great book by Sam Dyer and Bitmap Books there. And Steve Jarrett's edited it and narrated it. I'm narrating this. And the original idea was by Dave Cook. Again, put all the details for these guys in the credits. I nearly showed you the end there. I didn't want to show you the end because I think, I don't want to spoil the whole book. This is a first look, of course. What I've done here, almost 20 minutes, just given myself and you just an overview of this epic title. It really is. And I'm going to get into it more, maybe show a few more sections, and most importantly, read it. And then the next important thing is play some of the games in it, because these always inspire me to, just kind of randomly pick a page or, flick through it and you're reading through it and look these games up and play them. That's what it means to me. So I hope you enjoyed this overview. I was going to say quick overview. It's been about 20 minutes. If you've stayed the full 20 minutes, thanks for doing that. I really appreciate it. And as I say, if you follow us on socials in the links below, we'll be showing a bit more of this book in the coming weeks and even in coming years. I'm sure we'll flick back to it like many of the other bitmap books we've had over the years. And I say, get back into some of these games, old ones, revisit them, and importantly, check out some of the new ones. So it's kind of nostalgia and, getting into some new beat-em-ups, which is what this book's all about. Thanks, everybody, and take care, stay safe, and I'll see you out there.